following on with that, I mean, it's important to respond. I mean, social media, it's a conversation. It's all about two-way. It's about interaction. There's nothing social about, not responding to people. Remember that. I mean, it sounds a really obvious point, but it is social media. You've got to respond, and respond appropriately. I mean, this is just an example. So I talked about things not necessarily being negative. I mean, social media is a wonderful opportunity to harness enthusiasm about your brand and evangelists that potentially exist out there. So here's someone writing into a leading FMCG site. They've got a great idea for a commercial. Who should they let know? But the response, we really appreciate many creative suggestions people offer us. To be honest, we rely on outside advertising agencies to develop some concepts and plans. Thanks for thinking of us, though. Well, no, absolutely not. That's not how you harness social media. And, think about it. This is essentially someone who's coming to you with an idea. They're probably not going to want to get paid for it. They're enthusiastic about your brand, for God's sake. They want to help. I mean, obviously, you've got agencies, but you'll be paying those guys probably a ton of money. And you just think, ignoring that or fobbing someone off, it's a real missed opportunity. I mean, if you can harness that in some way, provide some sort of outlet, then, that person goes away and maybe he's telling other people about it. I contacted brand X, I'm going to submit a commercial idea, you do the same and so on. This is how things become very organic and so on. So, respond appropriately. It's social media after all. I mean, this is a great example of listening and responding. This is a retail site, Zappos. So I'll just pick out a few things from this homepage. Check all this out. Look, 1-800 numbers, 24/7 customer service, not just in, I mean, this is US, not just in the States, but in American, in English, you've got it in Spanish. There are customer testimonials, free returns. Look at that, a 365-day return policy. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Click here for live support. Now, this was a conversation that one of my colleagues in the US had. He's quite an evangelist about social media. So he was on the site and he was just about to buy some shoes. Last question before I buy some shoes. What do you think of your CEO? Good guy. And here's the girl on the other end of the phone, on the other end of the live chat. Okay. Probably the most humble and kind person I know. Throws in a bit more. He really stands for what our company is all about. Okay, that's quite American and so on. But, this is really the way it should be. I mean, one of my colleagues from the States is here. Sorry, Brad. But this is fantastic, okay? This is all, that's social media. That's fantastic. It's all about the customer. I mean, every single point on that site is all about customer service, returns, testimonials. They're really tapping into it. And you've got enthusiastic social people on the other end of live support. So, that's a really, really good example about harnessing social media. Okay, use video. Okay, I was going to do that in stages, but it's not worked. Okay, so let's just go to the top point. Every single product you have should have a demonstration video. This was, again, the guy I mentioned before, Pete Blackshaw, who's a big, well-known figure in the US in terms of interactive marketing. And, I mean, he coined the term consumer-generated media. And this is what he said to P&G a couple of weeks ago, talking, one of the biggest advertisers, one of the biggest brands in the world. And he was saying that, every single product should have a video. Why? Because you control the content. It is the ultimate viral tool. It's easy for people to link to, it spreads virally, and it gets raised up in the search results. So remember what I said about the brand DNA, the 3 E's, if you like. I mean, imagine we flip that. So let's talk about Crest, for example. So say Crest decides to emulate consumers and produce a video like we've seen with companies like Mattel have done, JetBlue in the US. So they get maybe a scientist or a credible spokesperson talking about the brown stains on teeth issue. They produce a video, they stick it on the site. People go to Crest, they're looking for information, what's happening, are my teeth going to go brown? Perhaps they see that video. The omission is that they might show other people or forward it. Well, look, I know you're interested in the same issue, or they're in a forum, they're a blogger, they control some form of forum. This is what Crest had to say. So the effect of that is twofold. One is potentially people in social media are listening to Crest's side of the story, not necessarily our irate consumer, our Andy Wibbles of this world. Also, enough people forward that video on or, link to it and so on, it gets pushed up in the organic search results. So again, Crest are controlling the story to a degree. They're having as much as a say, if you like, as some irate consumer. I mean, I've touched on this. It might seem really, really, really obvious to say about exploiting your website, but, as I said, people go there first. They tend to go there first before they go off and talk about you either positively or negatively. in social media. So, there's a wonderful opportunity to exploit your website. I didn't know this, but this was a big study a couple of years ago. Most consumers want to believe a company brand when they hear something negative. Consumers are interested in hearing the brand side of the story. I mean, there's an element of reassurance there. If people have been using the mouthwash, they perhaps want to know, is it or not going to turn their teeth brown? So people want to come, and they almost, want to believe. Brand websites have high levels of trust in the eyes of consumers relative to other tools. So, it's an important weapon in the social media arsenal, if you like. Get your website right. I mean, some fundamentals that you can do, quick wins, FAQs, premium shelf space to FAQs so consumers can find what they're looking for. Again, if it's a negative issue, something they'll want to be reassured, they'll want to find the key answer straight away. Again, it could be positive, and I'll go on to this in one of the case studies, but think of the example with the guy writing in about the commercials. Again, it can be positive as well. Corporate blog, I mean, we know how popular blogs are these days, and particularly if you're able to create one in which you can, release new information to people. I mean, disseminating new information in itself creates goodwill. It depends what the message is inside it, but just the fact that if you're disseminating that information, particularly to key bloggers or influencers or so on, the fact that you're doing that just creates goodwill. And obviously, it's the nature of bloggers to be seen to be knowledgeable, and that kudos about having new information and so on and forwarding it on, being seen as a sort of gatekeeper. Dynamism, keeping the website refreshed in terms of content, refresh it constantly. I mean, it helps with search as well. But, I talked about video, but providing content that can be easily shared and referred and linked to, invite and encourage opinion. I mean, create the opportunity for communities to form. That's not necessarily saying you need to go and create a social network around, bandages or whatever your site might be, because it's not going to work, it's too expensive, but just creating the opportunity for communities to form. What's interesting, what do people like to discuss and share information about relating to your product. Just having that idea of freshness and interactivity. I'll come back to that. And also be friendly and inviting. It's really important in social media, and I'll make this point and I'll illustrate it again in a couple of moments. But a key thing about social media, I said it's a two-way conversation. It's all about participation. If you want to harness or influence social media, you can't sit back and not get involved. It's all about participation. I mean, these are just examples of consumer activist sites, anti-corporate websites, looking to stop child labour and bring down the big corporates. And they rely, for to get things changed, and it's all about numbers. It's about getting people involved. So, it's always calls to action. So, become a member, make a payment, sign up, tell a friend. It's all very, it's very interactive. It's very participative. It's all about doing. They're not just saying or, regurgitating. It's doing. And I mean, look who's picked it up in the States. It's political campaigns really tuned into this. The big man at the moment. I mean, look at his website. Look at those calls to action on his site. It's all about participation. It's very, very clear, very easy. It's donate now. It's make calls, register to vote, volunteer. It's all about participation, and they're really tapping into this. And, to be fair, the political campaigns in the States are doing really well on this side of things. They're really tapping into it, and you've started to see, in the UK, the British politicians starting to tap into this idea as well. But the States way ahead on this. It's all about participation. So, do what consumers are doing. I said don't afraid to be personal. I mean, I'm not sure if that sends shivers down people's spines, but, common sense tells you that there's bound to be less hostility or more warmth towards people than corporates. I mean, think about, our example with Jasmine in the Zappos website. It's all about being a little bit more personable. You don't have to overdo it, but, this is just one example. I could have picked one from many, but this is a health food store in the US. It's all very sort of personal and so on. Front and centre, it's meet us. It's very sort of person to person. Nice picture there. They're all in their civilian clothes by the beach. Sun shining, all very nice. But seriously, it's very social. It's sort of people to people. Look, the consumer relations team for this product. It's first name terms, and you can read their diaries. Their change diaries relating to their their food and so on. It's very personable. It is social, and that's a key part of harnessing social media. It sounds really obvious, but you've got to think like a person, not like a corporate, not like a brand.